Today we're going to solve equations that involve powers of 3, 4, 5, and higher. A couple things that you need to know. First of all, here's the steps that we're going to take to solve the equations. Your first step is to isolate the power. And there's a couple things that we need to know with that step. Then we're going to take the nth root to undo whatever power. So if it's raised to the fourth, we'll take the fourth root. If it's raised to the fifth, we'll take the fifth root, and so on. And then simplify your answer to finish getting your answer. Now, in the process of isolating the power, it is important to know that something like 5y to the fourth really means 5 times y to the fourth. So if we're isolating the power, you want to get y to the fourth by itself. Get rid of the times 5 using division on both sides. The other thing that you'll need to know is that if you have something like x minus 2 raised to the third, this is isolated. You cannot add 2 on both sides because that minus 2 is stuck inside the parentheses with the exponent. You also can't apply that exponent. You can't distribute the exponent. You can only distribute the exponent if it was like 7x raised to the third. Then it would be 7 to the third, x to the third. If it's multiplication inside the parentheses, you can apply that exponent to the stuff inside the parentheses. If it's addition or subtraction, you cannot. So this would be 7 to the third, x to the third, but x minus 2 to the third would not be x to the third minus 2 to the third. You can't just distribute it when it's addition or subtraction. Okay, let's look at the first one. 5y to the fourth equals 80. What do you think we need to do first? Divide both sides by 5. So we get y to the fourth equals, give yourself a little bit of space, and then write 16, because 80 divided by 5, I believe, is 16. Yeah. The exponent is 4. We undo an exponent of 4 with a fourth root. So you're going to take the fourth root of both sides. Do you see why I told you to give yourself some space? We're going to be drawing a radical in there. You're going to need some space to do that. Okay, the fourth root of y to the fourth is simply y. On the right side, always start with your perfects chart. Look in the fourth column, see if the number 16 is there. What is the fourth root of 16? 2. And then because this was an even index, what do we have to have in front of this? Plus or minus. So y equals positive or negative 2. If you are doing an online assignment, there will likely be 2 places for you to enter your answer. You would type in 2 into one of them and negative 2 into the other. All right, number 19. What do you think we need to do first in number 19? Subtract 5. So x to the third equals, give myself some space, 27. Which root should we use? The third root. The third root of x to the third is simply x. Check your perfects chart. Thirds column, 27. The third root of 27 is 3. Do we need a plus minus? No, because it is an odd index, and odd index does not have that plus minus root. Okay, number 20. Again, you cannot distribute that exponent of 4 inside. You also can't currently add 7 on both sides because that set of parentheses is locked down. This is considered isolated. All we need to do to start is take the fourth root of both sides. So we'll take the fourth root. The fourth root of the parentheses to the fourth would just be that x minus 7. That exponent of 4 is like a padlock, and the fourth root undoes the padlock and gives you access into those parentheses. On the right side, what is the fourth root of 10,000? 10?
Plus or minus 10.
Plus or minus 10. What do we need to do next? Now we can add 7. And when we add 7, this thing right here means 10 plus 7 and negative 10 plus 7. You have to use both positive 10 and negative 10 when you add 7. So 10 plus 7 is 17, and negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3, and those are your two answers. Okay, now number 21, I'm actually going to change it a little bit before we get into solving this one. Let's actually do, there we go. 3 times y minus 1 to the third plus 5 equals 101. Okay, I'm going to make this as complicated as possible so that when you see easier ones, this will be like a total cinch and you'll know how to do the most complicated one. It'll be fine. What do you think we need to do first? Subtract 5. So we have 3 times the quantity y minus 1 to the third equals 96. And then divide by 3. You cannot distribute that 3. You have to get rid of it from the parentheses by dividing both sides by 3. And that will bring us to y minus 1 to the third equals 32, the problem we originally started with. I just added 2 steps to it. Okay, now what? Cube root. So we have y minus 1 equals, look in our thirds column, and 32 is not on our perfects chart. That means the cube root of 32 can be done. It's just not going to be a nice, pretty whole number. We need to use our calculator to find it. If you are using a graphing calculator, you can use the math button. Now, option number 4 is a cube root, but I actually want you to practice using option number 5. Option number 5 is called the x root. So when you select option number 5, it gives you this handy dandy little template that you can fill out. So we want the third root of 32, hit enter, and it will give us the decimal. We do have to think about how to round that decimal. They want us to round it to the nearest hundredth, to 2 places after the decimal. So that means it might be 3.17, but the 4 is going to determine if we leave it at 3.17 or if we bump it up to 3.18. Should we leave it or bump it? Leave it. So our decimal is going to be 3.17. Now, what if you have a scientific calculator? So if you're watching the video, you just have to listen really carefully since you can't see what I'm pointing to. I don't have the video option here. On a scientific calculator, look above your caret button. So diagonal up from the 7 is your caret button. That's what you use to raise something to an exponent. Right above that, it says x root. Now on this calculator, to use that x root, you have to type in what you want the index to be before you hit that x root button. So you're going to type in 3, and then the second button, and then the caret button, which has the little x root above it, and then you'll type in 32. On your screen, it will look like 3, and then the x root symbol, and then 32. That is going, the 3 tells that x root symbol what to use for the x. The 3 has to be written first before that x root symbol. So try typing that into your scientific calculator and make sure that you get the decimal 3.17. If you have something other than the graphing calculator that we use in class or the typical TI 30X2S scientific calculator, bring me your calculator during work time. I will help you learn how to do this on your calculator. Okay, so we got 3.17. Do we need a plus minus in front of it? No, because it was an odd index. Our final step would be to add 1 on both sides. So our answer is 4.17. If you round incorrectly, the online assignment will count it as incorrect. So make sure that you are rounding correctly. The online assignment today is called 5.1 Day 2. So look, remember you log in through Clever and then find Big Ideas Math, not EdSite, and then go to your Assignments tab. If you'd prefer to do this on paper, that is fine, but you aren't going to get the instant feedback from the check answer button. So the the paper assignment is written up here on the board. Just keep in mind, it might be a few problems longer than the online assignment. I'm going to reward you for doing the online assignment by giving you the answer check button and fewer problems. If you can do 6 problems really, really well with that check answer button, then that's better in my mind than doing more problems without.